Hi, I hope everybody is having a happy Saturday. Today I have Stephanie Boatright with me, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her son Isaiah. Isaiah died from fentanyl poisoning in May, and she'll talk a little bit more about him. And I just want Stephanie, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Stephanie, and I am from Sacramento. I just recently lost my son, May 29th, 2023, to fentanyl poisoning. And I want to thank DJ Belitho for giving America this platform so we can, as parents, can speak on here and tell our children's stories.
Okay, so let's talk about Isaiah. How old was he?
Isaiah was 20 years old. And oh my God.
And what when did he pass away?
He passed away May 29th, 2023.
Okay.
So about 8 months ago, he passed away to fentanyl.
Okay.
And
Yeah, it's something we need to talk about. So tell me a little bit about Isaiah. Who was he like as a kid, as a baby? Let's start with when he was a baby.
Isaiah was amazing. He was funny. He was just the light of the party. Like he just, every time he walked in somewhere, I mean, he was just an amazing child. Like he was just like an angel.
Like a firecracker that lights up the
Yeah,
room.
like
You
a
never know what you're
firecracker. He was just so just energetic, funny. I mean, he was hilarious. Like the things that he would come up with. And he was very curious. He was very outgoing. He loved people. He loved helping people. I mean, he was just an amazing child. Just amazing.
so so as a kid, was he always that energetic?
Yeah. Yeah, he was. He was funny all the time, just cracking jokes. I mean, oh my God. Yeah, he was everything.
Oh, no doubt you got calls from the teacher. I did
Yeah,
with
because he was a handful. He was definitely a handful. And he did what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it. He didn't care what anybody, it's like something in his brain didn't click. I mean, it's whatever he wanted to do. I mean, that's what he did. Nobody could really tell him anything. I would try to ground him,
wow.
all kinds of stuff, and it never worked. So,
Okay.
yeah, he was funny. I don't know.
And how was he with family?
Very loving, very loving. He loved his family. He would do anything for his family, for anyone. I mean, he was just that type of kid. Like he just loved. And
Did, did he
huh?
have any siblings?
Yes, he has an older brother. He's 23. His name's Damien. And then he has a little sister. Her name is Melissa, and she's 13.
Okay. And how was he like? Was he the type that could be influenced to perhaps try fentanyl?
Yeah, he wanted to fit in with people. But he was very popular. He influenced a lot of people too. But he definitely like I don't know, like craved attention. He didn't have a dad growing up. His dad was in prison. Well, he didn't know his biological dad. So the dad that he did have, which is my daughter's dad, he went to prison, and my son was looking for that like attention. And my son had a way with people. So, I mean, he always hung out with older people. And I would try to tell him, you can't be hanging out with people like that. Like they're too old, but everybody liked him. But they also,
Right.
I feel like, kind of took advantage of him. And then he got turned into like liking the wrong type of things, the wrong friends. And one
And you
thing
know
led
what?
to
That
another.
that happens more often than we could even imagine, especially if
Hmm.
there's not a father figure. They seek that age group where somebody can, they just crave to be mentored. And
Exactly. They
there's
do.
people out there that want to guide, but sometimes not in the right way, not as what us parents would
Right,
think.
because they don't even know what's good for them as well, you know. And then if you're a single parent and you're out working, you're doing what you need to do to take care of your family, you're not really paying attention to what each of your kids need. And each kid needs something different. And I mean, we ask for help. You know, we go to these meetings, we go to these little places and ask for people to help us. And there's not a lot of help out there. And then our kid, you know, can fall in the cracks. And that's what happened with my son. He fell in the cracks of the system, of just no help. I didn't know what to do with them. I'm not a professional. I'm a mom, you know, like.
So, at about what age did he start really? Did you notice that he was really acting out and, just kind of changed, so to speak? About what age was he?
um he was about 12 years old. I started noticing him liking the wrong type of things. And then me, I wasn't really like paying attention like maybe I should have been, you know. Um, I did
Well,
my
if you're
best.
working, yeah, if you're working, you are limited because you're providing for your family.
Exactly. You're
And
not looking at everything.
yeah, and this is one of the things that I've been talking about to parents about talk to your children about not taking things or not being influenced by
Yeah,
other
you have
people
to.
to be their own
You have
person.
to because
All of,
this world is ugly out here. And people will take advantage of your kid, you know, and you won't even know what's going on because you're not asking the right questions. You're not um
yeah, and I'm
you're
telling
you're
people
just not
to
like paying attention,
right, and I'm
and they
telling
can get
people to
mixed
talk
up.
to their right, right. And I'm telling people to talk to them around the age of 9 because by the time they're 11 and 12, they already know how to say no. They already know what kind of people might take advantage of them. Just to have an open dialogue. Don't take things food items or drinks from other people. Be careful when you are walking around to walk in a group, because, of course, there's child trafficking that's happening nationwide, and it's unfortunate. So,
Yeah,
so
and peer
what kinds of
pressure, you
things did
know,
you do to? Yes,
so there's a
talk
lot of
about
like,
his peer pressure.
yeah, like fitting in. You know, my son, he liked the rap music, he liked all that, which that's fine. I mean, I like that music too, but the messages that they're sending in that to these kids is not
Hmm.
good. It's really not. And I don't know, me losing my son like kind of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. And now I just want to try to share my son's story and explain like we got to do better as parents by informing our kids, going through their phones, getting in their business a little bit more, because I feel like I kind of didn't do as much as I needed to do, and there wasn't enough support there for my son. Like he needed more than what a single mom could give him. And my son fell through
So
the cracks. I'm trying to prevent
I
other
know, I know. Go ahead.
I was saying I'm just trying to prevent other kids and other families to go through what I'm going through. This is literally a nightmare. I wake up every day
Yeah,
and I'm so hurt.
right. Yes, I understand. Okay, so um, I know that you were saying that you were trying to get him help. What kind of places were you looking to put him in or getting involved
I
with?
tried Heritage Oaks, mental homes. I tried the Dell system. I mean, you name it, done it. I've tried rehab. I've tried I think of all of them in my head, but I have programs of conservatorship in that process of getting that. And the jail was supposed to let me know when they were going to release my son. And
right.
they failed to do that. And when my son got out of jail, to let me know, because he clearly, his mind started to go from all of the drug use and stuff that he was putting himself through.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know going with that.
So, well, I know that we had talked briefly, and it was ironic that your story was a little bit similar to mine. That I was trying to get conservatorship for my son, and you were as well. I think about a month prior to him passing. And the problem is that with conservatorship, it's so hard to get, it's expensive. And I think that if there's mental help that the state recognizes, as long as they're recognizing it, they should have the ability to help the parents who need the financial help to get conservatorship of their children if the child is not able to take care of themselves. And I'm talking about not a small child. Of course, if it's a child that has a severe disability, you would, gain conservatorship. But when they're an adult and they clearly can't take care of themselves and they're dependent on drugs, and people are, they take advantage of them financially, it would be,
sorry, I
to
didn't mean to
me,
cut
it
you
would
off.
say, it's okay. It would be good for the state to say, hey, this parent is stepping up and wants to be a conservator. Let's try it out for a short period of time and see how it goes, and revisit the conservatorship maybe once a year or every other year, you would think.
Yeah, I agree. That's not what they didn't do that in my case. They basically told me, I mean, I was fighting for the conservatorship because they told me basically because he was 18, I couldn't have any more say over him. And clearly he's like losing his mind. He's going crazy out here, and I'm trying to get my son help, and
Mm-hmm.
the system would not help me. So I was fighting for the conservatorship. It was $1,500 to have a lawyer help me with it because I didn't know how to fill out the paperwork. I didn't know any of that. And so I was going
Right.
to have a but it was $1,500, so I was saving up for that. And the time he was in jail, they were supposed to let me know when he was supposed to get out, so that way I could make sure the conservatorship is all set by the time he got out, so I could go there and pick my son up. And he died.
And
He got out
what?
and passed on the way home.
That's unfortunate. Oh my gosh. So this was within days. It's really odd that they would tell you that you have, they can't give you any information because he's over the age of 18. Yet if something happens to them, then they go to the parent and say, oh, your son passed away. I think that's a travesty, and I think they need to rethink that.
Yeah,
If somebody, mm-hmm,
that they could come and tell me he's gone, but all this time I've been asking for help, nobody could come and let me, give me help. Like I didn't know
right.
what to do.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have known. And this is what needs to change. And I really do believe this, that with the jails, not all moms will come to a facility and say, "Hey, I want to know when my child gets out so I can pick them up." A lot of times people turn 18, and then the parent or the parent will say, well, you're on your own. You got yourself into this mess. You'll get yourself out of this mess. And they do not pick up their child. But when a parent says, hey, I'm concerned for my child, please tell me when he is
Get
scheduled to be out so I can pick him up.
right. I was trying to get my son in a program. Like I've tried all kinds of other times, and I mean he's messed my car up, all kinds of things. But I never have given up. I kept trying and trying and trying. And I lost him basically like within a year. He started messing with drugs when he was about 12. But I would
Okay.
say in that last year it just got so bad, and I didn't know
What it
what to
was.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't, there wasn't enough help out here. And it's like, where's all these community help, like all this community help and things like that when you really need it? Because I was out here searching, like, in my
It's interesting that you
specs.
mention that, because the community will always run to your side if they can capitalize, so to speak, when your son passes away. Oh, you can come to us. Well,
Right.
where were you before my son passed away when I needed to get him the help? And that's what a lot of parents are running into. The resources to get them into the facilities is so difficult. It's so difficult with insurances, with monies, or they have to say
Yeah,
that they want to be there.
home and all that, then yeah, your kid might be able to make it. But if you don't have a lot of money and you don't know how to do all the paperwork and all of those type of things, your kid can fall through the cracks. And that's not fair. Like, everybody matters.
Okay. So, at what point did you learn about fentanyl and what it was?
Honestly, I didn't even know really what fentanyl was. I didn't even think my son had a problem with fentanyl. I knew his mind was going and stuff, but I was thinking it was like coke or something like that. 'Cause he was always uppity and crazy, and I think fentanyl makes you, like, low and down. So
Yeah,
him
I
dying from
know.
fentanyl, like, what? Like, what? My son is gone? Like, he's not,
Right,
he's really gone. Like, I still can't
right.
process it. It just happened 7 months ago. And
I
yeah, like,
know.
my world will
It's
never
a
be
tough
the
one.
same.
Right. And so, like for me, I had to do some research to figure out what is, in my son's case, was carfentanil. It's 100 times more potent than fentanyl. But in your son's case, it was fentanyl. And still, there are a lot of parents out there that don't know what it is or exactly what it does. Um, so, did you
Well,
learn a little bit more about it as time went on?
yeah, since this has happened, I've learned a lot about fentanyl, and it takes a very, very, very little amount. Like, I'm talking about like a grain of salt or 2 grains of salt is enough to kill a person. And
Right.
they're being pressed in pills. People are smoking the pills. Um,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of stuff going on with this fentanyl.
Yeah, like
It's
in
taking
my
over.
son's case, it was given to him in a drink form, in a
Right.
drink form in food. It could be hidden in just about anything if you think about it.
It's even in candy now. Kids is candy. It all it is like white substance, just white
And a
specks.
speck. It's tasteless and odorless, so who would
Yeah,
know, until something happens, I've known people to tell
exactly.
me that their child died at a picnic. They were given food. It must have been in their food, but the people that
Yeah,
were there, it was talked about later, and they found out that they were playing a prank, and it was a very costly prank. It cost their friend his life, and it's just unfortunate. Yeah.
it's and it's just devastating. Like, you don't
So,
even know.
what is
uh,
your word to other parents? What
to
would you tell other parents about this?
like, get in your kids' business. Pay attention a little bit more. I'm sure not all parents are single and stuff like that, but some are. And I just feel like, you need to know the dangers of what fentanyl is doing to our kids out here. And I don't know why it's our kids that are targeted, but it's more kids. Like, there's more deaths with this with kids between the ages of 18 to, I think it's like 24 or something like that. I'm not sure. But
Right. The majority. That's the
I try
majority.
I'm in the community. I give out Norcan. I talk to people. There's so many little kids out here that are like 20, 23, 24. I mean, babies out here strung out on this bad. And
Right.
I just
Yeah.
I'll hug them. I don't have my son anymore to hug, you know, and I feel so sad for them because they don't even realize what's happening to them.
Right.
And
And what would
there's
you
not
say to a parent? What would you say to a parent that because some parents don't think it would ever touch them because they don't do drugs, or their kids are young and they don't think that it's important. But let's say drugs are not in their home and they don't do drugs. What would you tell them? Because I'm always talking to people about it, and some parents are oblivious to fentanyl, and they go, well, my kid
all
doesn't
I
do drugs because we don't do drugs.
right. And I don't do drugs. I've never done drugs. That's not my thing. Um, what I would say is like, just because you don't like, you need to pay attention to the things that your kids are into, the music that they're listening to, definitely the music, the shows that they're watching, the things that they're being influenced by, and really, like get in their business, like be on top of what they're into because you
Who
don't
their
know.
friends are. Yeah, who their friends
Yeah,
are.
yeah. Be
Peer
their
pressure.
friends and oh, yeah, just
Peer pressure is everything because we're
like
not
keep them and
around them when peer
take
pressure
the
happens.
right and take the time out and really focus on what your kids are focusing on so you can understand them better.
Right. So
Uh,
we talked a little bit about Isaiah and the simple fact that tell me a bit, we need to let everyone know what you told me about him and what he would do. He would take food out of your house, and
oh
tell
yeah.
everyone about it.
So I got the idea from him. He would make sandwiches at home, like probably like 5, 6 sandwiches,
To do what?
and
To do
because
what?
I always have a lot of house, and he would make sandwiches, and he would go, and I'd be like, "What are you doing?" And he'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna just go feed some of the homeless people when I'm out and about today." And I'd be like, "Okay, like you're gonna take all my food out of my house to go do that?" But that was just something that he liked to do. He loved to help people. That was his heart. I mean, he had a heart of gold. He may have not used his most the heart, like the biggest heart, and he would help anybody out. And that's something that he did frequently. So when he passed away, that's the first thing I started doing was just making food, passing it out. Then I got Norcan, started passing out Norcan, and just talking to people about my son. And it was just crazy because a lot of people out here knew my son, and they'd be like, "Oh, I know
Wow.
him. Like I knew that kid. Like
He gave me a sandwich one time.
he loved to help people. I don't know. Like he'd be like, Mom, they need the food more than we do."
So talk about what you do, like what do you do on a daily? What do you think about? I know every day is a challenge to navigate in the day, but I know that you are out in the community, and what do you say to these people, and where do you go, and what do you do?
Yeah, I go to usually the homeless encampments because there's so many of them out here. Like I said, fentanyl is like kind of taking over, it seems like. There's not a lot being done, it doesn't seem like. So I'm kind of taking it into my own hands and doing my part on the behalf of my son as his mother. And I pass out Norcan, I talk to people, I pass out literature. And I just talk to people and let them know, like, God loves you. I love you. Like, your life matters. Like, you're better than what you're doing out here. But I know how these drugs can overpower you and they can take you, And I just try to be a support to people. And I feed them, I talk to them. And I mean, that's really what I do. Pass out like clothing, different clothes, patterns, things like that, get donations, and I just try to help in any way that I can to be some sort of support. I'm grieving. I have my whole plan down of what I want to do in the community. I am starting Isaiah Foundation, and it's just a memory of my son to help people that are struggling maybe connect them to better resources.
So you do give them resources. That's very nice. That's very nice. And I know that people in the community really do appreciate people coming out and giving them something, because it's a struggle out there. I'm in the Sacramento area. It's pretty bad out here, and it's getting a little bit better, it seems like. It depends on what actor or actress is in the area. They try to help the homeless during that particular time, but I think they should do whatever they can to help the homeless all the time. And they have to understand that there's a tie-in between drugs and homelessness, and
There is.
maybe self-medicating themselves, etc. So what are you doing any type of foundation or anything like that for him?
Yeah, it's I started the Isaiah Michael Foundation, but I'm also working with drug induced homicide. I have an investigation going for my son's case because the way he passed away was just crazy to me.
Well, I'm glad that you are stepping in and making a difference. And the Isaiah Michael Foundation is something that you're working on, but it's not quite put
Yeah,
together.
it's
But
not quite set
you'll
yet because
announce it,
I'm still grieving a lot, so it's really hard to even just talk about him at all.
right? You're doing a great
Or
job.
to do a lot. Like I have a lot of ideas and different things I want to do, but I'm kind of taking my time with it. And kind of a way that I'm dealing with my grief is getting up and giving people Narcan, because I feel like if my son would have had Narcan, he could have lived. And I
Right.
have the security guard saying that was there for my son, that if he would have had that, my son could have lived. And
Wow.
that's where the Narcan came in with me. Like, I need to give this out to people.
And that speaks volumes, because they're, if they're working for a security company, the police department, any type of where you're surveilling or monitoring people, everyone should be carrying Narcan. And it's sad to say that, because that's how prominent it is in the places that they're, you think about it, a security guard. Why is there a security guard? Probably because there's homelessness, or there's probably
There's
theft in the
things
area
going on.
or whatever. Yeah. And they need to carry that. I think
Yeah,
everybody
I
should.
agree. And I just feel like, I don't know, think about COVID, all the deaths with COVID that we had, right? This fentanyl epidemic, there's way more deaths with this. And everybody with the COVID, everybody made a huge deal. Everybody had to wear masks and do this and do that. Well, with how many deaths there are with the fentanyl crisis, I feel like everybody should have to have Narcan on them, because that's the only thing that could save somebody's life. I was walking
Right.
to the store the other day and there was somebody ODing on the side of the street, like just right there, you know? And it's just like, what? Like, this is crazy. This is insane. And there's just
Well,
really not a lot of help. Like, everybody's life matters, not just one person's life, or one type of
no,
person. All lives
no.
matter. It's
Correct.
just,
You're right. Well, I'm glad you got your investigation started, and you're making a little bit of headway. And so I guess my question is, what's your final word to people out there, and people with small kids and older kids?
um, just like I was saying, like, really teach your kids, pay attention, be in their business, because the world does not play fair, like, at all. This is not a safe world like it used to be anymore. And our kids' lives matter, and we need to pay attention. We need to really, really
What it
try.
comes down to is three words: teach your kids. Be
Yes,
there.
yeah.
Be there
Teach
for them. Teach
them,
your
be in
kids.
their business. Because I never ever thought this would happen to my son. I really didn't at all. And I'm living with the worst pain, and I'm trying to prevent other families from feeling what I'm feeling. Like, I wake up and I sometimes don't even want to live. Like, what's the point anymore? Because I'm living without a piece of me now. You know, my son was a huge piece of me gone, and
Yes.
we really got to. I mean, fentanyl is dangerous, and for some reason, it wants our kids. And there's drug dealers out here that don't give a. They don't care, you know, and
Exactly.
they're even poisoning people, you know, like people that aren't even addicts or anything. Like, we got to be careful. Like, don't let your kids eat anything, drink anything off of any, but nothing. Like, is this is not a safe world no more. It's
It's
dangerous.
it's a different world, and I can tell you this is not the world that I would imagine me raising my kids in. And I said to my kids at one point, I am so sorry, this world is so unfair. This
Ugly.
is not the
Yeah,
world that I imagined you growing up in. It's not the same world that
exactly.
we grew up in. And but I want to thank you for being on the show and
Yes.
sharing your
Thank you for
story
having me.
with about Isaiah Boatright. And I hope to come on my show again. And we will keep following you and seeing what you're doing. And we'll talk
Yes.
more about Isaiah and your foundation when you establish it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank you,
me.
Stephanie. All right.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
And next week, or the next episode, we're going to be talking about Snapchat and Facebook. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And it's interesting because Snapchat's being sued, and we will go into that in the next episode. Thank you for joining us this Saturday.